The remastery of video games to movies have shown to be unsuccessful and has been highly criticized. Movies and video games are different forms of media and although seem similar, have very different demographic groups in terms of their consumers. Popular game franchises such as Warcraft and Assassin's Creed are examples of video games that are unable to represent and translate these ideas to the big screen.
One reason for the limited success of game movie is due to the different representational methods of both game scenes and plot development. The movie focuses on video and audio experience, while the game focuses on the interaction between player and game itself. In the game, players have different types of perspective to choose. When choosing first-person perspective, players will have a better sense of immersion and visual impact. When choosing third-person perspective, players will have wider spectrum of the whole scenario. In real-time strategy games, players will have an isometric view containing huge amount of information. Comparing to games, the choice of perspective in movie is limited. Audience has to follow the film editor rather than freely choose proper perspective and explore the scenario by him or herself. Besides difference between perspectives, there is also difference in logic of plot developing. In the game, player is the main driver of plot development by choosing their own pace of story. However, during the movie, his pace is fixed by the film editor. This difference makes it harder to satisfy the audience. Take Warcraft movie as an example. According to film critics Krusty Lemire, Warcraft doesn't tell a complete story but just leave dangling threads on it. That's because the pace of movie is so fast that lots of detail are missing.
Another reason for the film adaptation of video games to be found less successful is that complexity and stereotypes limit the number of audiences. One of the most prominent film adaptations of a video game is Warcraft. At its peak, Warcraft had 12.5 million players worldwide, which is only 0.2% of the world's population. For the movie to perform well, it had to appeal to the people outside of the game's player base. If the movie is solely based on the video game, it would be confusing and unappealing to the general public. Warcraft the movie scored 6.9 in IMDb, 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 32% in Metacritic. In contrast, the movie Wreck-It Ralph had characters similar to its original video game, but new personality and plot were added to enrich the movie and appeal to the more individuals. The movie gained successful reviews from critics and 3 times more revenue than the original budget. The representation of the video game had to be flexible, not a clear reflection, and that is difficult when the source material is complex and has extensive lore.
Stereotypical representation of video games also affect the number of audience. Based on the data from Pew Research Center's Internet and American Life project, only 2% of older demographics play video games, and thus they are not customized to games culture. Some of them even demonize the online game and believe that teenagers who are addicted to it need treatment. A doctor called Yang Yongxin in China practiced electroconvulsive therapy without anesthesia as a cure for online game addiction in teenagers. This inhuman treatment, however, has been regarded as a savior by the public. China Central Television highly appraised the Yang's treatment and described World of Warcraft as a bloody and violent online game. Because of the demonized impression, parents will not allow their children to watch movies that adopted from the game.
As successful as many of these video games are, it is hard to translate that into a different medium. Video game plots are much different than movies because there are many more options of what one can do, and the player adds his or her own personality to the game. Limiting these options only takes away from the personality and plot of the movie, and thus is why most video games, especially open world ones, cannot and should not be made into movies.
you.